The story of Hanna Szenes doesn't start with heroism. It starts in a quiet city, one pretending that everything is fine. Budapest, in the late 1930s, the cafes are full, the trams are running on time, and the river lights are shimmering on the Danube. On the surface, life just continued. People worked, got married, argued, and laughed. But underneath it all, the air was changing. New laws were being written. New restrictions were put in place. New lines were being drawn between us and them. And a young Jewish girl named Hanna noticed every single detail. She was bright, she was stubborn, she was the kind of student teachers remembered long after she left their classroom. She loved poetry, books, the feeling of a pen moving across a blank page. But as she grew, she watched her classmates stop talking to her. She watched new rules appear that only applied to students like her. She watched doors quietly close, one after another. Hungary was her home, but her home was telling her she didn't fully belong. Hanna didn't respond with hatred. She responded with clarity. If this was what the future looked like, she was not going to wait for it to arrive. At 19, she made a decision that most adults would be too afraid to make. She left everything she knew, her city, her language, her routines, and sailed to British-controlled Palestine. Life in Palestine was not easy. Hanna joined a kibbutz, which meant long days, hard labor, and an unforgiving sun. She learned Hebrew, she milked cows, she harvested crops, she trained as a nurse. During the day, she worked. At night, she wrote. Her poems were full of longing and warning. She loved her new home, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Europe, to the family she left behind, and to the millions of Jews trapped in countries that were sliding into darkness. News came slowly at first, then, all at once, Germany was advancing. Countries were falling. Neighbors were disappearing. Entire communities were being erased from the map. Hanna could have stayed where she was. She was safe enough, far enough away. Instead, she asked herself a simple question. Am I really safe? If they are not? In 1943, the British Special Operations Executive began recruiting a rare kind of volunteer, Jewish men and women from Palestine who spoke European languages and were willing to parachute behind enemy lines. Their mission was to assist Allied forces, connect with resistance networks, and if possible help Jews escape before it was too late. Most people heard that description and walked away. Hanna stepped forward. She trained as a paratrooper. She learned codes, signals, and survival techniques. She learned how to fall from a plane in the dark and land in a world that did not want her alive. She wasn't tall. She didn't look like a soldier from the posters, but her instructors noticed something important. She did not flinch. Physically, she was just one more recruit. Mentally, she was unshakable. In March of 1944, the time came. The mission: parachute into Yugoslavia, link up with partisans, and then cross into Hungary, her birthplace, to reach the threatened Jewish communities. The risk was extreme. Hungary had just been occupied by Nazi forces. The night of the jump, the aircraft hummed in the darkness. The red light glowed. Hands were nervous. Breathing was silent. Somewhere below, the trains were already waiting. Then, the jump light turned green. Hanna stepped out into the night. For a moment, there was only wind and gravity. Then her parachute opened, lowering her into a world that was collapsing under its own cruelty. Within weeks, deportations to death camps would begin. She understood exactly what she was walking into. She also knew her mother still lived there. She landed in Yugoslavia, alive but far from her target. For months, she moved with Tito's partisans through mud, through forests, through ruined villages, just waiting for the chance to cross the border. Every new report from Hungary was worse than the last. Each time, her response was the same: yes, send me. In June of 1944, Hanna finally crossed into Hungary. She carried a British radio transmitter, forged documents, a cyanide capsule she refused to use, and pages of her own poetry folded close to her body. She didn't get far. Border guards became suspicious. Her answers didn't match her papers. Her bag was searched. The radio gave her away. She was arrested instantly. There was no chase, no escape attempt. Just a young woman in civilian clothes, swallowed by a system designed to erase people quietly. They brought her to a military prison in Budapest, the very same city where she once walked as a student. The interrogations began immediately. Who sent you? What are your codes? Where are the others? Hanna refused to answer. Silence is easy in theory. In practice, it's one of the hardest things a human can do. The guards tried threats, then lies, then sleep deprivation, then violence. She still refused. Each day, the pressure arose. Each answer she withheld increased the cost. Then came the moment they believed would finally break her. They brought in her mother. Catherine had been searching for her daughter all across Budapest, knocking on doors, bribing clerks, begging for answers. Now she stood outside the interrogation room, as soldiers shoved Hanna inside. Mother and daughter locked eyes. The guards told Hanna that if she didn't cooperate, her mother would suffer. Hanna looked at her mother and said quietly, "Whatever happens, don't cry." It was the only weapon she had left. Not courage, not strength, defiance. The interrogations continued for weeks. Other prisoners later recalled hearing footsteps, then blows, then the scrape of boots dragging someone down the hallway. And sometimes after the worst sessions they heard something else, a faint humming, barely audible. Not because she wasn't in pain, but because she refused to let pain claim the final word. Her body was in their hands. Her choices were not. By November of 1944, the front lines were shifting. The Nazi regime was retreating, but its brutality only intensified. Loose ends were being eliminated. Hanna was brought before a military court. There was no defense, no real trial. The verdict was predetermined: treason, espionage, death by firing squad. She listened without trembling. On the morning of November 7th, guards came to her cell. The air was sharp. The city outside was gray and exhausted. They walked her into a small courtyard, a patch of ground surrounded by walls. She had one last choice: a blindfold or no blindfold. She refused it. She wanted to see, to remain present for her final moment, to choose. Even now, accounts differ on her last words. Some say she declared she was proud to die for her people. Others say she insisted she would fall forward, not backward. But all agree on one thing: she stood without shaking. The shots rang out. A body fell. A life ended. But something deeper did not end with it. After the war, survivors began to speak. Stories emerged of the young woman who wouldn't talk, of the paratrooper who returned to help a country that had rejected her, of the poet whose notebook outlived her body. One of her poems begins, "Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame." She was that match. Small, fragile and determined to burn rather than stay unlit. Today, Hanna Szenes is remembered not as a mythic hero, but as something more difficult: a real, young woman who walked toward danger with open eyes. Schools bear her name, ceremonies recite her words, soldiers study her courage, writers analyze her resolve, not because her mission succeeded, it didn't, not because she saved thousands, she couldn't, but because she revealed a different kind of victory, the victory of refusing to betray what you believe, even when the price is everything. Hanna could have stayed in Palestine. She could have lived a long life, written books instead of prison notes, cared for patients instead of evading soldiers. Instead, she chose a path where the outcome was almost certainly death, not because she wanted to die, but because she could not accept doing nothing. Her courage didn't stop the war. It didn't stop the trains. It didn't stop the camps, but it left something behind that the war could not erase. Proof that, even in the most controlled and brutal systems, someone can still say no and mean it. In the end, Hanna's story is not about how she died, it's about how she lived, with her eyes open, with purpose she chose for herself, with fear present, but not in command. A nurse who walked into fire, a poet who protected her last words, a daughter who told her mother not to cry so the guards wouldn't win twice. Her life leaves us with the question: when the world around you collapses into cruelty, what do you do? Run away, freeze, or do you walk as she did, straight into the fire, to try, even just once, to pull someone else out? Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider liking and subscribing for more stories of remarkable courage.